What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Say What? Barstool Parlay. You know what it is. Today we're going with something a little bit harder for a little bit harder topic. We're going with some whiskey today, some whiskey. Remember, like, subscribe, leave your thoughts, opinions, whatever you guys want in the comments. If there's anything you guys want us to make a video about, leave it in the comments. And just for fun, let's start doing what you guys want to see me drink in the comments. Let's do that. But welcome to another episode, guys. And today we are talking about Bill Belichick versus Tom Brady. Brady versus Belichick in the New England Patriots. And is Bill Belichick actually overrated? Is he actually not good? That's what we're talking about today. Remember, this is raw, real takes, no apologies. We're talking about the stuff nobody wants to hear. Real takes. So, let's get into it, guys. So, to start here, Bill Belichick, Tom Brady. To really get into this, guys, there's a lot that we have to go through. And it really boils down to the simple fact that Bill Belichick has never been successful without Tom Brady. All right, that's what all this boils down to. We have never seen Tom Brady without Bill Belichick. We're going to see that this year. I'm really excited. I think him and Tampa is a really good fit, especially with Rob Gronkowski coming out of retirement to go back there. Plus, he's got Godwin and Evans on the outside. That's going to be a huge factor. And they picked up a lot of offensive pieces, offensive linemen, a running back in the draft. They already had an okay running back in James White, reunited with Brady. So really excited to see what Brady does. But everybody talks about, well, what about Brady or what about Belichick without Brady? We've already seen it, guys. We've already seen it. The results are not good. You're not going to be happy with them. Everybody likes to sweep this stuff under the rug. So let's start with Belichick without Brady. All right. Bill Belichick got his first head coaching job in 91 in the NFL. He was the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. 91, 6-10. Following season 92, 7-9. Following season 93, 7-9. 94, 11-5, made the playoffs. Quick first round exit. Bumped out first round. Team played a little bit over their heads. And we found that because following year in 95, they flipped roles. 5-11, Bill Belichick's fired. Bill Belichick, as the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, is 36-44 without Tom Brady. 36-44. He has one winning season in his career without Tom Brady. Come on, guys. Really? Is it Brady or is it Belichick? The dude's 36-44 as the head coach of the Cleveland Browns. 36-44. All right. So, well, it's the Browns, Austin. Come on. It's the Browns. All right, so let's talk Patriots. After that 95 season, Bill Belichick's fired. He gets hired as the head coach of the Patriots in 2000. In the 2000 season, Bill Belichick's Patriots, without Tom Brady, go, you guessed it, 5-11. Bill Belichick's entire staff was packing up their office. Assistants, scouts, everybody packing up their office. Everybody thought they were going to get fired. Everybody thought they were getting fired. They were looking for new jobs because they went 5-11. Not good. Following season, 2001, Tom Brady comes on the scene. In that season, they go from 5-11 to 11-5 in a Super Bowl. The only thing that's changed on that football team is Tom Brady. So, I mean, when we really break this down and look at it, Bill Belichick has never been a winning coach in the history of his coaching career in the NFL. And then all of a sudden, in 4 months, he magically finds the magic sauce and starts winning football games. Bill Belichick's never changed, never will. And this year he's going to get exposed, and we're going to get into a little bit more of that towards the end of the video. But Let's talk about, now, I mean, that's all we really need to say about Bill Belichick as a coach. He's got a losing record without Tom Brady. All right. Bill Belichick, unpopular take, guys, is not a good coach. He's not successful without Tom Brady. All right. He's never been successful. He is wildly overrated as a coach because Tom Brady won him Super Bowls and covered those deficiencies that he caused on that team as a GM, which is what we're about to get into. So let's talk about all the players that most of you should know. There's a lot of other, role players and stuff. I don't want to get too much into that. You guys aren't even going to know who they are. But let's talk about the big names that most people are going to know, the household names that Bill Belichick has cut from the New England Patriots. All right. Bill Belichick does not put talent on that roster. He removes talent from the roster. Bill Belichick, as a GM, his theory is everybody is replaceable and we don't need to spend money on anybody. That's not winning football. That's not how you win football games, okay? And you guys can sit there and argue, well, he's won Super Bowls. How's that not? Because Tom Brady is covering the deficiencies, guys. He's the greatest quarterback of all time. All right, you guys want to argue Montana? I'll give you that. He's at worst the second best quarterback of all time. That's why they're winning football games, okay? Tom Brady just wins. All he does is win. All right. So let's go through this list of names. We got offensive guard Brian Walters. Did that make the offensive line better? Brian Walters was the top offensive lineman in the league at that point when they released him in 2012. Did that make him better? Absolutely not. They released Corey Dillon, one of the famous running backs from New England. Bill Belichick cut Corey Dillon. And these are players that have either been cut or not re-signed. Corey Dillon was cut. Brian Walters was cut. Willie McGinnis was cut. And realistically, to jump back to Corey Dillon for a second, how did the Patriots get better by cutting Corey Dillon? Oh, yeah, they didn't have a running back for, 10 years? Okay. They cut Willie McGinnis, one of the best linebackers they've ever had in that system. Okay. Chad Johnson got released. They didn't re-sign him. Why? Because they couldn't find a way to use him. How do you not find a way to use Chad Johnson? How can you not find a way to get Chad Johnson to produce? Chad Johnson gets cut. Lawyer Milloy gets cut. Another outside linebacker. So Lawyer Milloy gets cut. Torrey Holt and John Lynch. These are both Hall of Fame players, okay? And this tells you the talent evaluation of Bill Belichick. These are Hall of Fame players. Torrey Holt, John Lynch, towards the end of their career, tried out with the New England Patriots, got cut, didn't even make the roster, didn't even see a preseason game. How does Torrey Holt and John Lynch, two Hall of Fame players, not make the roster? Okay. Cornerback Ty Law got cut. After he got cut, had the best season of his career for the Jets. Did that really make New England better? No. Deion Branch got cut, wide receiver. Dante Stallworth, wide receiver, got cut. Randy Moss got cut. They cut Randy Moss. Randy Moss and Tom Brady set a record in that undefeated season where they finally lost the Super Bowl to the miracle helmet catch in the Eli Giants. The storybook, the wild card winners. But after that season, Randy Moss, they quit using him. They quit throwing him the ball, and then they cut him. What? Great coaching there. Brandon Lloyd, never used, cut. Michael Floyd, never used, cut. Brandon Cooks, never used, cut. Wes Welker, Tom Brady's security blanket, his favorite target until Julian Edelman and Rob Gronkowski got on the scene. Wes Welker. Everybody's thinking Wes Welker could be a Hall of Fame receiver with the production that Brady was feeding him. Cut. LeGarrette Blount played really, really well for New England because they cut him and re-signed him and cut him multiple times. And every time he played for New England, really, really productive, really good, played really well for them, fit the offense well. And in that Super Bowl that they lost, probably wishing they had LeGarrette Blount because that was the year after they cut him. Guess who he played for? Philadelphia, who beat him with Nick Foles. One of the reasons they lost, third and shorts, they didn't have a power back. They had James White. They didn't have anybody to pound the ball forward and move the chains. Those third and ones, those fourth and shorts that they needed late in that ball game, bet they missed LeGarrette Blount on that one. Bad move. Stephen Ridley was never a great player, but was an average running back. Their offensive line had a lot of problems off and on during his tenure in New England. I would have been fine with them getting a better running back, an upgraded running back, but he was a solid player. Cut. Adam Vinatieri, the guy who Bill Belichick and Tom Brady have a minimum of 3 Super Bowls, gone without this guy. Adam Vinatieri, cut. Best kicker of all time, cut. Steven Gostkowski, another kicker, which for the Patriots, like back-to-back, had phenomenal kickers. Gostkowski got hurt this year. You guessed it, they cut him. And how does that make the Patriots better again when they didn't have a kicker and they struggled to make field goals and extra points all year? Bill Belichick's a genius, not me, guys. James White, cut. He's reunited in Tampa Bay now with Tom Brady. Kyle Van Noy, big key linebacker on that defense that they had last year, cut. So that's just a list of all these guys who have been cut by Bill Belichick. And every single one of these guys was a bad cut, was a bad move, okay? Not one of these guys had a ready, set replacement behind them when they were cut. This wasn't, a situation where you got a draft pick. He's coming up and he's going to be a stud. You see him in camp and you're like, this guy is it. And you cut your starter because he's older and you're trying to save cap space. That's not what this is. This is just Bill Belichick refusing to pay anybody who is worth a contract. The roster for New England has been bad every year, guys. I used to tell people, they'd be like, oh, like Randy Moss, Brandon Lloyd, Michael Floyd, Brandon Cooks, everybody, all these guys. Man, what if they get T.O.? What if they get Brandon Marshall, Brandon Lloyd, all these guys who are top-end receivers that are coming there? And I'm like, if I was a receiver, I would not want to go to New England. New England is where top-end outside receivers go to die because all they want is quick little slot guys dink and dunk the football. They don't use guys like Randy Moss, Dante Stallworth, Joey Galloway, okay, Dion Branch. They cut, and then, oh yeah, we needed him, brought him back. They don't use Galloway, Stallworth, Moss, Brandon Lloyd, Michael Floyd. They don't use guys like that. Torrey Holt. It just doesn't work for them. So as a wide receiver, yes, you're playing with the greatest quarterback of all time, but the offense doesn't fit you as an outside receiver. So that just doesn't work, guys. I would never want to go to New England as a wide receiver. And all these guys got cut because they didn't know how to call 3 or 4 plays down the field and just throw them a couple balls every game. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. The coaching is mind-blowing, all right? So let's talk about other personnel moves. Bill Belichick, when Tom Brady was drafted, now we all know Tom Brady had a bad draft. He's, arguably the worst combine player ever. So he came into camp, but you're telling me that you couldn't see something special from Tom Brady in camp? They were going to cut Tom Brady in camp, all right? They were going to cut Tom Brady because they didn't want to carry a 4th quarterback. They decided, because they didn't like any of the other wide receivers and corners that they were debating on filling that slot with as rookies, they decided, we'll keep 4 quarterbacks, put Tom on the practice team. They kept Tom, battled up to being the backup. Obviously, Bledsoe gets hurt. Brady comes in. The rest is history. They win a Super Bowl. So Belichick is so smart. He didn't want to draft Tom Brady. Then he wanted to cut Tom Brady. And then he wanted to trade Tom Brady to keep Jimmy Garoppolo. I know what you guys are saying. Another newsflash. Jimmy Garoppolo is not good. He's a game manager, okay? Jimmy Garoppolo lost the San Francisco 49ers the Super Bowl. If San Francisco had a viable option at quarterback, San Francisco wins that football game and they don't blow their lead, okay? So that's something we got to get out of the way. He wanted to trade Tom Brady to keep Jimmy Garoppolo. Well, once again, another bad move, because if Brady hadn't had Kraft step in and shut that down, Patriots never win 2 more Super Bowls after that. Tom Brady put 2 more Super Bowls in Bill Belichick's trophy case after he tried to trade him. Doesn't deserve it. So you want to trade the greatest quarterback of all time. About the same year or the following year, he wanted to trade Rob Gronkowski. Now, Rob Gronkowski had been battling with some injuries, but Rob was still in his back end of his prime. Wanted to trade Rob Gronkowski, the greatest tight end of all time, arguably. So you have 2 players at their respective positions that are arguably the greatest of all time. You want to trade both of them. How is he good at personnel again? All those players I just listed who got cut that had no viable replacements, personnel moves aren't making sense, guys. They're not making sense. So let's talk about this year's draft, which I gave Bill Belichick an F minus. You guys want to give him an F plus, I'll give you some leeway, but it's got to be an F. All right? An F. Bill Belichick is a worse GM than he is a coach, okay? All these guys who are listed here are either reaches that would have been there a round or 2 later, would have been undrafted free agents, and a lot of them were positions that they don't need. All right, so now they did lose Kyle Van Noy this offseason, so in the 3rd round, Anthony Jennings from Alabama. I don't hate that pick. I mean, I don't love it. I don't really love him as a player. I think he's shockingly average. I don't love the pick. I thought in the 3rd round it was a little bit of a reach. They had 3 picks in the 3rd round. I thought he should have been their bottom 3rd round pick. I thought they reached for him. But other than that, that was the only real position that they filled need for. Because the needs for the New England Patriots right now, let's be real about what they need as a football team. Offensive line help. Tom Brady last year was playing behind that New England offensive line. Most of them were practice team players. The entire offensive line was gone. They were all hurt, cut, released, gone. All right? A lot of them were practice team players. They didn't get any offensive linemen. They needed tight ends. Ben Watson retired. He wasn't that good. He was way beyond when he should have been playing anyway. Ben Watson retires. They get a couple tight ends. Both reaches, bottom of the barrel tight end prospects. Doesn't make any sense. Biggest need is you just let Tom Brady go. You don't have a quarterback. You don't have a Jimmy Garoppolo in the wings. You didn't go out and make a move for a Cam Newton, a Jameis Winston, an Andy Dalton, a Phillip Rivers. Call the Cowboys, try to trade for Dak Prescott, see if Kansas City will trade for Patrick Mahomes. You guys didn't do anything. You have no quarterback. You have Jared Stidham. And it's not a knock on Jared Stidham, but he's a rookie, and this is going to be the first time he's ever under center in an NFL game. Brian Hoyer and Jason Stidham, what do you think that's going to turn out to? Sounds like a 2000s Patriots before Tom Brady. 5-11. That's what that turns out to. Or worse, because at least when they were 5-11, they had a quarterback. They had Drew Bledsoe. They had a quarterback. Without a quarterback, how many games do you think you're going to win? I don't know. Ask Cleveland. Ask Detroit. See how well that's worked out for them. A couple teams with 0-16 seasons when they didn't have a quarterback. Running back, still a question. Sony Michel, he's okay. He's good. I don't think he's top-end back. But he's going to be bad again next year, and he could get beat up because your offensive line is still a huge problem. Your offensive line needs to get fixed. And you got to add depth at running back. And if they could have got, like in the 2nd round, a top-end running back instead of taking a linebacker, Josh Uche, and a safety, Kyle Duggars, they took 2 defensive players that they didn't need instead of getting, I don't know, Jonathan Taylor, any of those top running backs that were out there. They could have shored up some depth at that position, or taking a quarterback in that slot. Now, those quarterbacks fell down the board, so if you want to weigh in those quarterbacks, I'm fine. But somewhere between 5 and 6 had to be Jacob Eason, Jake Fromm. Once again, guys, Aaron Gordon, Throwing in there again from the last video with the Cowboys, Aaron Gordon was out there, Steve Montez from Colorado. Here's the ultimate scouting by Bill Belichick. This is Bill Belichick's ideal quarterback, okay? Bill Belichick, and we talked about this in the last video, the Patriots wanted to sign who the Cowboys drafted in the 7th round. Ben DiNucci. Yep, we're talking about him again. The Cowboys drafted Ben DiNucci. He wanted him. He wanted Ben DiNucci. Really? You're going to replace Tom Brady with Ben DiNucci? Come on, Bill. Even you don't believe that. It's pathetic. It's really a pathetic pick. It's beyond bad, okay? Ugh. It's bad enough that Dallas wants him as a backup. You want him as your starter? Oh, let's move on. Oh, wide receiver depth. Still don't have any. You got N'Keal Harry. N'Keal Harry's okay. Another guy. He's not going to make a huge impact. He's not a fast wide receiver. He's more of a jump ball guy. He's a red zone threat. You still don't have an every down possession receiver. Julian Edelman's getting older. He's getting hurt a lot these days, guys. He's beat up. He's been beat up. He's a small guy. And between Julian Edelman and N'Keal Harry, that's all you got. Oh, what? Oh, yeah, it's because they cut some more players like Ben Hogan, Danny Amendola, some of those other guys that were really productive in that offense. No wide receiver depth, none. And they drafted a safety, a linebacker, a tight end, a kicker in the 5th round. A kicker in the 5th round? A 5th round kicker? Really? People don't even like to draft kickers in the 7th round. You drafted one in the 5th? And you still don't have a quarterback? Oh my God. A guard, an offensive tackle, a linebacker, and a center. So they got a couple offensive line pieces, but we're talking 6th round, 7th round for your offensive linemen. All of those offensive linemen were probably going to be undrafted. They were a reach. And none of those guys are going to make an impact next year. None of them were jump off your screen talents on the board. All right. They're not going to make a huge impact next year. These offensive linemen, I mean, it's basically a wash. And everybody's telling me that Bill Belichick's a great coach. Okay, well, Bill Belichick's a great coach, but he can't even coach his own specialty, which is defense. And everybody's saying, oh, yeah, no. He's always had good defenses. They've always had average defenses, all right? Those New England defenses, because they've won Super Bowls, have been way overrated. Teddy Bruschi, Willie McGinnis, Vince Wilfork, that defense, that was the best defense New England's ever had. Okay, and that's not even close to an argument. You can't argue that there's a better defense that New England's ever had than that defense. Okay, they won 3 Super Bowls. They were a really good defensive team. They weren't an all-time great defensive team. They were just consistently like top 10 to top 5 every year. Okay. This defense this year, who everybody's talking about, this was the greatest defense of all time. Lamar Jackson and Baltimore exposed them. They got exposed by Miami. They got exposed the whole back half of the year by the Titans. They weren't good. They were overrated. They played the Cowboys schedule in the first half. They played a bunch of dog teams, Miami, Washington, Buffalo, or not Buffalo, Miami, Washington, the Giants, just a bunch of just teams that combined had like 2 wins to that point. I mean, yeah, the defense looked good against a bunch of slop. Once they started playing playoff caliber teams, they looked really bad, guys. They looked really bad at times. So that defense was wildly overrated. All right, wildly overrated. So if you can't put together Hall of Fame defenses and you're a defensive coach, doesn't that say something, guys? Doesn't that speak volumes if you can't coach to an extremely high level your own specialty? Okay? It doesn't make sense to me. So they drafted all these guys and they didn't fill any of their needs, guys. But if you want to argue they had a good defense, which it was overrated, but it was a good defense. It was solid, all right? They didn't need defensive help. They still had a top 10 to a top 5 defense. Possibly. I'd rank them about 8, but possibly top 5, depending on if I'm not going to argue about where you guys want to rank them, all right? They had a top 10 defense, either way. They didn't need defensive help. If you want to draft a couple guys late in the rounds, if there's somebody you really like that linebacker you want to replace Kyle Van Noy with, I'm okay with that. But they didn't draft a quarterback. They didn't get any wide receivers. They drafted just possible guys that are going to get cut for offensive line. They didn't fix their offense, guys. This offense this year is going to be worse than the offense Brady played in last year. It's going to be worse. And Tom Brady looked that bad last year at times. I mean, if you really understand the game, you understand that with what was around him, Tom Brady played really well last year and looked pretty good, and they won a lot of football games. So people forget, they had a great record last year. And Brady didn't look like a top 10 quarterback anymore. And what do you think Jason Stidham's going to do back there, or Ben DiNucci would have done? It's madness, absolute madness. If you guys can tell me that the Patriots had a good draft, I'd love to hear your opinion on it, because there's no way you can rank this as good. You just can't. And you guys want to try to defend some of these personnel decisions with all these names that I've listed, go ahead. The personnel stuff speaks for itself, guys. You want to cut Tom Brady, then you want to trade Tom Brady, then you want to trade Gronk. What more do you need to say? You want to make those two decisions? You suck at personnel. You're a horrible GM. Any GM would have made those moves, they would have been fired. All right? And like I said, guys, to go back to coaching, let's talk about the coaching. 36-44 as a head coach for the Cleveland Browns. 36-44. He's a losing football coach. We've seen Bill Belichick without Tom Brady. We've seen it. Losing football coach. 1 year at the Patriots without Tom Brady. He only had 1 year in New England without Tom Brady. 2005 and 11. Losing football coach. He's made the playoffs once without Tom Brady, and he got bumped out in the first round. Guys, we've seen Belichick without Brady. We've seen these personnel moves in Cleveland. Without a Tom Brady to compensate for that loss of talent, you go 6-10, 7-9, 7-9, 11-5, and 5-11. That's what happens. You make these personnel moves without Tom Brady, you go 5-11 as a New England Patriot. That's what happens. And I was really, when I knew Bill Belichick was a losing football coach before Brady, but when I actually looked up the stats, guys, I was laughing. I thought it was hilarious, because I had my over-under on New England at 5 this year. I had their over-under at 5 wins. And then to see 6-10, 7-9, 5-11, and 5-11. Call me crazy, but the numbers speak for themselves. Bill Belichick is never going to win another Super Bowl. I hate to tell you guys. I hate to break the news to you. He's never going to win another Super Bowl. It's not going to happen, because you're never going to have another Tom Brady that's going to compensate for all these deficiencies in mismanagement of being a general manager, just horrible personnel moves, horrible roster building, and horrible coaching. Guys, he's overrated. I'm sorry to tell you. Raw takes, no apologies. Bill Belichick is overrated. I know everybody likes to think you're crazy if you think Bill Belichick's overrated, but nobody actually breaks it down. We've seen Bill Belichick on his own. It's not pretty. It doesn't look good. And people like to sweep that under the rug because he's got all these Super Bowl wins. Yeah, he deserves some credit for that. He was the coach. He deserves credit. But he's riding the coattails of Tom Brady, guys. Tom Brady's got those Super Bowl wins. And Tom Brady is going to make the Tampa Bay Buccaneers competitive this year. I don't know if Brady will win a Super Bowl in Tampa Bay. I don't know. But they're going to be competitive for one every year he's there. I guarantee you that. Winning a Super Bowl is tough. But they'll be competitive. And when we're talking about who's going to win the Belichick-Brady, put me on the record. Book it. Brady's winning this war. He's winning the war. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Rob Gronkowski back, James White, one of his security blankets. And they had a great draft. Buccaneers had a B-plus draft. Put a bunch of offensive linemen around Tom Brady to keep him safe back there so he doesn't get hit a lot like he was last year playing with guys fresh out of Burger King on the offensive line. They stacked it for him. He's going to look good, all right? He's going to look good back there. And this is going to be the first time that a coach has ever put weapons around him. He's never had a Mike Evans, other than when he had Randy Moss, and then they decided to stop throwing him the ball so they could have a reason to cut him and not pay him. It's ridiculous, guys. He's never had somebody like a Mike Evans long term. He's never had a Chris Godwin. He's never had a team who's just invested in putting offensive linemen around him, and he's never had an offensive coach. Bruce Arians is not only an offensive coach, he is a quarterback whisperer. He's regarded as the top quarterback-friendly head coach in the NFL. People say if Bruce Arians can't fix your guy who's at quarterback, he's not fixable. That's who his head coach is. Come on. Brady played this really well and really smart. He's already won the battle by getting to Tampa Bay, and now he's going to win the war. And besides that, how many Hall of Fame coaches or great coaches do you know where their top players hate them? Go ahead. I'll wait. Yeah, that's right. I can't think of any. Probably zero. Because even guys going outside of football, even guys like Bobby Knight, who are just assholes to play for, all those top players love him. They say, oh, yeah, he's hard-ass, tough to play for, but at the end of the day, we love him. Guys don't like Bill. You've never seen a New England Patriot player come out and openly say, I love Bill Belichick. He's my best friend. All top players want out. Tom Brady wants out. Gronk wants out. Gronk wants to play football. He loves football, and he was not ready to retire. But he was willing to say, I'm going to make a decision I could never take back and quit playing football before I'm actually done, just so I don't have to be around Bill anymore. Tom Brady said, I'm going to leave a franchise that I love and I bleed silver and navy, and I'm going to leave that franchise and walk away and go start fresh somewhere else because I can't take any more Bill. It's been 20 years. I can't take any more Bill. $36-44, guys. 237-83 in 20 seasons with Brady. Numbers don't lie. I'll let you guys be the judge. What do you guys think of the numbers? Bill Belichick overrated? Or is he not? The numbers certainly say yes. The personnel moves certainly say yes. But what do you guys think? Guys, tell me what you think. Leave it in the comments, and we'll let you know what our thoughts are on it. Obviously, I'm going on the record, uncut, no apology, saying I don't think Bill Belichick is a good football coach. I think Bill Belichick is shockingly average. Maybe even below average. Yeah, the take that nobody wants to hear. Bill Belichick, Super Bowl winner. You can't say that. Guess what? No apologies. I just said it. Bill Belichick is overrated. Tom Brady is the reason for the Patriots' success. Belichick deserves 15%. Yeah, I said it. Yeah, you guys are going to hate me for it, but it is what it is. I said it. Belichick is not a top football coach, and Bill Belichick does not deserve to be in the Football Hall of Fame. But you tell me what you think, guys. Tell me what you think. Leave it in the comments. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Like I said, make sure you like, subscribe, leave your thoughts in the comments. Keep looking for new content. And if you want, as always, share if you can. Help us build the channel and keep looking for new comments. And as always, make sure you guys are leaving things that you want us to make videos about or talk about or parlay in the comments. Next video we got coming out, new content tomorrow. It's going to be about Michael Jordan, LeBron James. We got The Last Dance on ESPN coming out. Great series. Love the series. So we figured it was a perfect time to bring in my guest host, who is a LeBron James fan, Brandon Myers, an aspiring artist from Tennessee in Nashville. If you don't know him, hit him up on IG, Brandon Myers. I'll put his link in the comments for this video and on the new video. Look up his art. He's phenomenal. But he's going to be joining us to talk about Michael Jordan, LeBron James. And I think it's going to get a little crazy. We'll see what we get into. Make sure you guys tune in and watch that video. Peace out, guys.